Speakers, Dr. Kumar N. Sivarajan, Sri Ramu Srinivas, and respected panelist of the next session, Dr. R.K. Upadhyay, CEO C. Sri Robert Ravi, CMD BSNL, Professor R.K. IIT Madras, Professor Vijay Kumar, ISC Bangalore, Dr. Parag Naik, Lead Scientist and EVP Tejas Network, delegates, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to all of you. On behalf of ESTIC Secretariat, Department of Telecommunications and Digital Communication Thematic Committee, I extend a very warm welcome to all of you to this thematic session on 6G and beyond, realizing the vision for Bharat, being organized under the Emerging Science, Technology and Innovation Conclave ESTIC 2025 platform. So let's start with a big round of applause for this session and for all of you. It's indeed an honor and privilege for me as Member Secretary of the Thematic Committee to welcome such a august gathering of thought leaders, researchers, policy makers, and industry experts who are shaping the future of digital communications for our nation. The session is dedicated to charting India's strategic roadmap for next generation wireless connectivity, bringing together government, academia, industry leaders, with a sharp focus on realizing 6G vision for Viksit Bharat. It's now my privilege to invite our distinguished dignitaries onto the stage. I would like to invite our session chair, Dr. Neeraj Mittal, Secretary Telecom, to kindly take the seat. A big round of applause for him. Sir. Following him, I invite Professor Kiran Kuchi, who is also Chairman of DCC Thematic Committee, to the stage. Welcome, sir. Next, I invite Dr. Kumar N. Sivarajan, co-founder and CTO of Tejas Network, onto the dais. Welcome. And finally, I invite Sri Ramu Srinivas, co-founder and director of Lekha Wireless. Thank you. Kindly be seated. As a token of our respect, we will now proceed with the felicitation. Now I request our ADG IUC to felicitate our session chair, Dr. Neeraj Mittal. May I request I think there is some, yeah. Okay, sir. Yeah, thank you. So, IUC, please felicitate session chair, Dr. Neeraj Mittal. Thank you. Next, I request my ADET Subham to felicitate Professor Kiran Kuchi. I request my ADG Jitendra Bhoi to felicitate Dr. Kumar N. Sivarajan. Bhoi. I request Rajiv Ranjan, my ADG SRI, to felicitate Ramu Srinivas. Thank you, Team SRI DOT. To guide this important session, we are privileged to have with us Dr. Neeraj Mittal, Secretary, DOT. Dr. Mittal sir has been leading India's transition from 4G to 5G and now 6G with a strong policy and innovation-driven approach. It's my honor to invite our chief guest and session chair, Dr. Neeraj Mittal, Secretary, Department of Telecom, to deliver his inaugural address and share insight on the government's vision and strategic direction for the future of digital communication in Bharat. Sir.
A very good morning to everybody. My colleagues on the dais, Kumar, Suramu, Dr. Kiran, Ashok, colleagues here from DOT, from IIIT Hyderabad, ASNFA from DST, colleagues who have come from other parts of the country and abroad who are here today in this session. It's indeed a pleasure to welcome all of you. This is a unique moment for us, for India, in its journey to become a self-reliant country. Our Honorable Prime Minister has given the clarion call that we should be a fully developed nation by 2047. And moving towards that goal means a lot of things. One of the most important underlying levers to achieve that goal is to leapfrog in research and development. This conference today, yesterday, today and tomorrow, I must congratulate the Department of Science and Technology and all the other sister ministries, DBT, CSIR, ICAR, METI, DOT, who have come together to remind us that the goal is lofty, the path is difficult, yet if we put our heads together, it will be a reality. The digital communication session marks the importance of communication technologies in this journey. Telecom has become an enabler of not only the economy, but of all technologies which are developing in various disciplines. The change is marked by rapid growth of artificial intelligence and it heralds a new opportunity for all of us to achieve the impossible. India stands at a pivotal moment to be able to leverage and leapfrog using these technologies in communications to spur the growth in a variety of sectors. We all know that telecom is a direct causation in the GDP growth because connectivity is the bedrock of any activity which is productive in nature. India has shown its prowess by one of the fastest 5G rollouts, thanks to the vision of the Prime Minister, not just a 5G rollout, but the foresight to be able to use that technology for what it is, not just higher speeds, but use its other features of reliability and low latency through a network of 100 5G labs which have been established across the country. To develop use cases and to prepare us for the future as we look to a leadership position in 6G. This is a multi-pronged approach by supporting R&D, by encouraging and facilitating domestic manufacturing, creating bridges between academia, industry, and government. An instance of that is today. We look forward that this August gathering, through the panel discussions which will follow, will be able to give us some insights on how to take the journey from 5G to 6G forward. The goals are ambitious. The Bharat 6G Alliance, again pioneered in India by the vision of the Prime Minister, has signed 10 international alliances with other 6G bodies with an aim to have at least 10% of the patents in 6G as it heralds its way into the world, into practical applications by 2030. Government is financing a lot of licenses, test beds, both in terahertz and in optical domain, and 100 R&D projects specially for 6G. Many projects are being done jointly by many agencies who are present here today, jointly, and therefore collaboration is the hallmark of this effort. We look forward for a very healthy journey with ANRF under the RDI framework, which was launched by the Honorable PM yesterday, to strengthen commercial grade R&D through affordable financing. Our priorities include making spectrum available for 6G, advancing Open RAN and indigenous chipset ecosystems, enabling the development and applications on AI and sensing to create intelligent, secure, and resilient networks, creating the necessary ecosystem for regulatory sandboxes so that the fledgling companies can test their innovations. And these, we hope, will also figure in your discussions today in terms of how they can be improved, how can they be leveraged. This conclave, I am sure, will help us, give us some concrete ideas as we pursue the aim of Atmanirbhar Bharat and Viksit Bharat by 2047. As I said in the beginning, the journey and the end goal both matter. The journey looks difficult and the goal impossible, but I think we can make the journey worthwhile and the goal achievable. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for your insightful opening remark that have perfectly outlined the BOT initiatives on various 6G accelerated schemes, various test bed, and so on. Sir, you said about India should leapfrog in R&D. That's a clear message where we all want to reach. You reminded us that our Prime Minister vision of achieving 10% of IPR in 6G. So that's a message to all of you, the researchers and academicians, industry, that the hard work which we have to do. Thank you, sir. Since Secretary T would be with us for some time and he may leave in between, so the group photograph which we have planned at the end of the session, I want to prepone. So may I request all the speakers here and also the panelists from the next session to come over the stage for a group photograph. I also request the committee members of the thematic sessions who are present here also to come on the stage. Professor R.K. Ghanti, Dr. Upadhyay. So all of you, please come on. Dr. Vijay. Yeah, thank you. So Robert Ravi, I hope he has not reached. With permission of chair, I'll move to the thematic segment, sir. To set the stage for the deep technical discussion to follow, we will now play a thematic video that tells us about our journey so far and the vision for digital communication in India. So may I have that video, please?
Where every call connects dreams, every signal carries hope, and every byte of data empowers a citizen. India is redefining what it means to be truly connected. From the world's highest mountains to its deepest villages, digital waves now unite 140 crore aspirations into one voice, the voice of a rising Bharat. In just 11 years, Bharat has scripted a digital transformation that has inspired the world. From one of the highest data costs to one of the lowest. From limited connectivity to the world's second largest 5G ecosystem. India today stands as a global leader in digital communication. Connectivity is the heartbeat of development. From only 25 crore internet connections in 2014, Bharat now connects more than 1 billion citizens, a 285% growth in just a decade. Broadband has expanded over 15 times, reaching every corner of the nation. Through BharatNet, the world's largest rural broadband project, over 2.14 lakh Gram Panchayats are service-ready, linked through more than 7 lakh kilometers of optical fiber. From the northeast to Lakshadweep, every village, every citizen is being empowered through digital inclusion. Under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, India's digital rise has been powered by visionary reforms, indigenous innovation, and world-class infrastructure. Massive investments in telecom, R&D, startups, and last-mile connectivity have fueled Bharat's digital economy. Our indigenous 4G stack now powers nearly 98,000 towers. More than 105 G labs, testbed on 6G terahertz, testbed on advanced optical communication, and over 111 research projects are propelling Bharat's 6G vision. Under the PLI scheme, 4,000 crore rupees of investment has generated 88,383 crore rupees in production, 17,062 crore rupees in exports, and created over 29,000 jobs, making India a trusted partner in telecom manufacturing. The Telecommunications Act 2023 replaced the 140-year-old Telegraph Act. The Gati Shakti Sanchar portal has cut right-of-way approvals from 448 days in 2019 to just 60 days in 2024. Through Sanchar Sathi, more than 19 crore citizens are now empowered to trace and block lost or stolen phones, with 24 lakhs successfully traced and more than 6.2 lakhs recovered. India's international spoofed call prevention system blocks 90% of cross-border spoofed calls within 24 hours, over 1.3 crore in its first day alone. AI-driven tools like ESTR are eliminating fake mobile connections, reinforcing Bharat's strong cybersecurity foundation. To realize the UN's Early Warning for All initiative, India has deployed the indigenous CAP-based Sachet system for targeted alerts across the country. India's leadership is now global. At the India Mobile Congress 2024, 1.75 lakh people witnessed innovations in 6G, satellite and quantum communication. Hosting the World Telecommunications Standardization Assembly, India achieved record global participation and led 10 ITU study groups. Rising from rank 83 in 2014 to 49 in 2024 in the Network Readiness Index, Bharat's progress is now acknowledged worldwide. With our indigenous capabilities and affordable, trusted solutions, India stands ready to partner with the world in building a digital future for all.
Thank you. So our journey so far and our vision is clear now. Path forward requires expert guidance, and we have today a lot of experts with us. So now it's my honor to invite Professor Kiran Kuchi, who is also chairman of this DCC thematic committee, to deliver his talk on the pivotal question, how to realize the 6G vision for Bharat and charting India's roadmap towards next generation wireless connectivity and innovation. As all of us know, Professor Kiran Kuchi has been at the forefront of India's 5G and 6G technology development and is leading the national 6G efforts not only at IIT Hyderabad but also at 3GPP. Sir, over to you.
Thank you, Ashokji. As rightly mentioned by our Honorable Secretary, we are at a very interesting time, a critical juncture. There is a great opportunity that lies ahead of us. And he also mentioned that the path forward looks difficult, but nevertheless attainable. So today's discussions and deliberations hopefully will come up with a concrete plan that, of course, will be circulated to the higher echelons of this government. I would like to touch upon the roadmap that we have set ourselves through various deliberations both in Bharat 6G Alliance in the various ministries for the last 2 years. A lot of work has gone into this effort. First and foremost, I would like to acknowledge the contributions of our Honorable Secretary DST here, who is sitting in the audience. He was, very few of you may know, he was instrumental in setting up TSDSI around 2015 time frame that has spurred a lot of activity in India. Before that, there was no standards body. And we took that opportunity to, especially leading from academia in those days, with my friend Ganti here, and we really gave a first shot at creating these standards for India, making a lot of different contributions, ITU, 3GPP. That set the stage for us to do something more substantial, possibly aiming for a leadership role in 6G. So we'll go through those different technical aspects of what we aim to do. Of course, many things have happened since COVID. You know, India has launched our indigenous network, and there are multiple players that have come along. The heavyweights are here today. Who you will hear from them. There are several companies that came up with 4G products. Kumar is here, Ramu is here, you'll hear from them. And CDOT has been championing the 5G ecosystem, and now we are moving on to the 6G. So let me get started with the setting the tone for 6G vision and roadmap. So in the standards realm, every 10 years there is a new standard. Whether we like it or not, a new standard will be rolled out. Okay? So there was 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G, 6G, like a clockwork. Every 10 years there is a new standard rolled out. So you may be wondering, 5G is not even fully penetrated. Why are we even talking about 6G vision and roadmap? The reason is that this effort that leads up to 6G products rolled out in 2030, that is the name of the project, IM to 2030 as per ITU, the work started in 2020 and 2021 timeframe. So a lot of us have been quietly working on setting this roadmap for 6G. It starts with a definition of the vision. ITU has announced the vision and framework document where India has made substantial contributions. I'll go over that. And the work of developing 6G standards has already begun in 3GPP. Just a few months ago, the work has started, and it's going at a very rapid pace. So we'll look at the time frames. So ITU sets the requirements, the vision, and the standards get to develop in 3GPP, and the products get rolled out by 2030. But we'll talk about some twist to this. We want to do something called pre-6G. We'll explain how we can get to that, and maybe for the first time before 6G is commercially rolled out, we can even have pre-6G. So that's the vision from ITU perspective. The roadmap, the timelines are displayed there. Now, about a year ago, in Geneva, ITU published this very interesting two wheel diagrams that pretty much captures the entire 6G vision, if not the implementation. And you see two India flags there, rather three. For the first time, India was able to, make a substantial impact at ITU. Of course, this is led by, DOT, academia, industry in a holistic manner to introduce something called ubiquitous connectivity as part and parcel of 6G. That is connectivity anywhere, anytime, including rural, urban, suburban areas, possibly including satellite as a complementary technology, whereas the terrestrial is the bread and butter of 6G. And India also introduced two KPIs called coverage and interoperability. These are KPIs that did not exist in 5G. These are measurable KPIs that did not exist in 5G. So in this left side wheel diagram, there is 5G at the heart of it. You see those triangle, EMBB, URLLC, massive machine type communication. That is the heart. That is a core. So 6G includes 5G. That's what the diagram conveys. And then there is a further expansion of 6G, giving new services, including integration of AI into 6G in different forms and shape. We will talk about it, how this AI will influence both at the device level and at the network level. This is going to be a part and parcel of 6G. Then there is something called sensing. That is a very interesting new technology. You use base stations and devices as sensors, possibly creating dual-use technologies as well as commercial technologies. Sensing also can be read upon as a radar. Okay, so this is new in 6G. There is sensing for dual-use purpose as well as other purposes. There is AI both at the device level as well as network level, and there is a peripheral service that allows interworking between satellite and terrestrial. I think in about 5 years, you will probably see a very tight interworking between satellite systems as well as terrestrial systems. It's already beginning to happen with BSNL launching narrowband over satellite very soon. So that being said, the focus has always been the services, the applications. That's a key, because what has been learned with the 5G experience is that delivering enormous amount of data to the cell phone without the right application is possibly not the best possible outcome. So a new breed of devices are expected to be available between 2030 and 2047. So the cell phone that we see and use with with GPT built in, cameras built in, is just today's cell phone. But I think we are going to see devices in possibly in different shapes and forms that we can't possibly imagine today. Maybe the cell phone may not even look like the device that we hold today. So immersive experience with applications ranging from education, healthcare, sensors built into devices with very long battery life. There's a long way to go. 5G is just the beginning. I think from a device innovation point of view, 6G has to enable a whole range of applications with AI built into at the core of both device and the network. Okay, so we have to be prepared for this new revolution that is going to happen at its own time scale, right? We are still in 2025, then 6G will be available in 2030. The standards, the products will be available in 2032 time frame, and then the network will last for possibly 15-20 years. So we have to really look at it from the point of view of what India would like to leverage from the 6G in 20 years time frame rather than 5 years or even 6-7 years time frame. So that's a kind of plan that we have to come up with, especially in promoting our technologies, IPR, standards contributions, products with a long horizon in view. So let's get to the actual work on the ground. I have mentioned that 3GPP is a body that develops these technical specifications that ultimately become standards based on which we develop the products, whether the network equipment or the modems in the cell phone devices or IoT devices. There is already a team working very actively, attending 3GPP meetings, pushing India's requirements, technical features and technologies, some elements containing IPR and so on and so forth. This comprises of now industry, because industry is coming up slowly and steadily, especially in the standards landscape. Academia has always been working very diligently for the last 10 years, but I think time has come for industry to take the lead. And also, India has to invest substantially into this standards landscape, because that's where you start and then the products will follow. So the investments required to do this work is very, very high. So with the government push in indigenization, we will also need to talk about the kind of funding needed to make us a credible leader by 2030 and beyond. So this is a conversation we must have, and we'll talk about the roadmap for that. Now, getting a little deeper into the technical landscape, people may always wonder, what is this 4G, 5G, and 6G? What is the fundamental difference? 2G was just low speed, low bands. 3G was a little better, slightly higher bands. 4G, higher bands at around 2 gigahertz, smaller cells, high speeds. And when it came to 5G, we have started moving to almost at the edge of the good usable spectrum, that is the mid-band, which is called 3 to 4 gigahertz, and super high speeds. That has been achieved. Okay, of course, the applications are still yet to be, yet to go on a large scale, massive scale. But with 6G, one of the workhorse bands, frequency bands, is 6.425 to 7.125. The government has already done the good work to identify this. And in fact, China and India are the only two regions or large countries which have made it very clear the possible bands available for 6G rollout. There's a lot of ambiguity in other regions. So this is actually a tremendous opportunity for India to leapfrog and start doing the work, because the band is somewhat known, and we can start looking at possible implementations well before the standards are out. So now, what do you do with this frequency band? It's very high, and one may say, well, the penetration into buildings may be questionable. This where innovation comes into picture. You will have to have fixed wireless access terminals. You will have new network architectures like distributed antenna systems, take the bit pipe towards the building and then distribute within the building. A lot of innovation can be done in the 6G era from a connectivity standpoint, using this new band, which gives you enormously high, large speeds, but then penetration to buildings may be questionable. So a lot of innovation is required to make this happen. So on the security and device side, there's a big emphasis on energy efficiency. One of the new things that have happened in the networks is that there are lots of antennas, lots of hardware being introduced in 5G, almost 20-30 times more than what either 2G or 3G has used. This results in kilowatts of energy being consumed, and that started to become an issue, at least for some regions. So there is a lot of emphasis on making the system energy efficient. On the other hand, spectrum being always scarce, there is a relentless push for increasing the spectrum efficiency, packing more bits and delivering more bits in a given spectrum. So the technologies are there, but then the hardware implementations, the chipsets and the circuits required to build these complex systems, we need to put a lot of effort into that. On the device side, there is a modem and there is an AI processor. This is going to be a requirement, a mandatory requirement. The device chipset will almost always include an AI processor as well as a modem that includes 5G and 6G. So a lot of investment is required to build these SoCs for devices, as well as the circuits and analog and digital circuits required for both device and network. So before I close, I want to touch upon a few aspects related to patents. There are two kinds of patents. The first class is called standards essential patents. That means you have to participate in standards, push your technology in, and they read on to the mandatory aspects of implementation of the standard, and they are highly valuable. Okay? And it is required for for India to be a major player. You have to have the standards essential ownership. 5G, a lot of work was done. Some standard essential patents have been declared. I think our share is less than 1%. So we have a long way to go to reach the stated goal of 10%. That requires substantial investments. Then these are other things called implementation essential patents. Those are some patents that deal with power amplifiers, advanced circuits, and there is enormous value in them. Don't underestimate that. India has a lot of work to do to build our own circuits and ICs, especially in the analog domain as well as digital domain. There is ample opportunity for everybody to be, in this space. So, of course, we need to seek right amount of funding. I will just briefly touch upon the roadmap that we discussed and presented to the secretary and the minister, on the roadmap between now and near 2040. That is, the aim is to develop several hundreds or even thousands of patents together from India, academia, industry, push them to 3GPP in the form of papers and documents written, and that results in the base technology in the form of standards essential patents. However, to acquire implementation essential patents, you have to build the ICs and system software subsystems. That's the mandatory task in front of us. But the upper 6 gigahertz is in front of us. Leverage it, deploy pre-6G before 6G comes, and there is a clever way to do that. We can deploy pre-6G in a few thousand cell towers with the devices before 6G formally comes in 2030. There is a way to do that. I think this is a unique opportunity we should take up. And while you deploy this pre-6G, you can even soft upgrade them to true 6G. So this is a very unique opportunity in front of us. We should leverage this. That's one of the goals. The second is we need to have at least 3 big OEMs building network equipment in India. This is true both in China and Europe and other places. And we have one network equipment company that has done very well. I think we need to put in efforts to create a vendor diversity. This is very important. Then we also need smaller players to do small cells, distributed antenna systems. There's room for 3-4 entities. This is really something that we should think about and act on it in terms of getting the vendor diversity. India need not just focus on building equipment for India. It's a large market, and the products developed by us should be global in nature. There is a lot of hunger in other countries for India-made technologies. I personally witnessed that in many discussions. So there's a lot of ample scope for radios, baseband units, and CPEs, terminals. There is plenty of opportunity to export. In fact, many regions are looking to India, as the next possible stop for, purchasing this equipment, licensing these technologies. So, just I reiterate this pre-6G plan. By 2027, we should have pre-6G installed at some level, and this is possible. Before the 6G is out, we should get pre-6G network and devices rolled out and soft upgrade them by 2030 into a commercial network, get absorbed. This must be done in upper 6 gigahertz band, which is cleanly available. That will set the stage and the momentum and the funding requirement so that this whole plan can move forward at the required pace. I'm also happy to report that a lot of funding has been given by both DOT, TTDF, 111 projects Ashok has mentioned, and that 6G testbeds have been launched. And I'm also happy to report that this whole landscape of projects given to several IITs and companies, both by MIT, DOT, and DST, in several forms and shape, including CDOT, that has launched this Bharat RAN program that has reached some level of maturity. So a lot of good work has been done, but nevertheless, there's much more to be done. Like our secretary has mentioned, the path is not an easy one, but I think collectively working together, we should be able to make 6G indigenously developed with substantial IP share by India. Thank you very much.
So thank you, Professor Kiran Kuchi, for your visionary and detailed roadmap on 6G. You have clearly laid down the synergies required to make India a 6G leader. As you said that India contributed in the making of framework for 6G at ITU, that is IMT 2030, and now there's a call to our industry leaders to take lead at 3GPP along with academia. You also mentioned about that every 10 years we have next generation of mobile technology. And not only that, so for example, if you look at 5G, it started with release 15 of 3GPP and will continue to release 26 releases in 10 years. So that means every 2 years we have a new flavor of mobile technology in our country. So that means it's not a simple job for we as industry, we as academia, we as government, because it's not a static one, but it's a continuous moving telecom technology which you have to go along. So now to build on that foundation, I invite our next speaker, Dr. Kumar N. Sivarajan. So Kumar is a co-founder and CTO of Tejas Network, a name synonymous with indigenous telecom innovation. He will share his perspective on making India a global telecom sector leader by 2030 in the 6G era, where he will analyze market trends and propose a policy prescription that exploits the synergies between government, industry, academia. Sir, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Round of applause for him.
Thank you, Mr. Ashok Kumar. It's a pleasure to be here, and whereas I cannot see the slides here, how do I flip here? Okay, I guess. Okay. Thank you. So, we all know that India is a large market for telecom. How large is sort of shown here, right? Okay, so we don't have the numbers. I think the numbers come up in the next slide. So I can barely see. So I'm going to actually, is there a microphone? Okay. I cannot read the subtext, so I'm just going to make up the bullets as I go along, okay? So we have a large global market for telecom. A lot of it is phones that you buy. A lot of it is the network infrastructure that the telcos buy, right? And that runs into tens of billions of dollars. In addition, there is software and applications and so on. So we're a very big market. It's over $1 trillion in annual spend, okay? Mostly combined with the infrastructure and the consumer equipment. So this is our strength.
Hello.
We have to leverage this to build companies and thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So this is our strength. This is what we have to leverage to build, large companies out of India. And we estimate there's over $1 trillion being spent by us combined in this entire market. Okay. Now, there can be a large market, right? But it can be a steady market. There's no room for innovation or to build new companies. But luckily, that's not the case in telecom, thanks to 6G. Now, I'm aware that 5G didn't do much, and we don't want to overhype 6G because 5G, practically did pretty much what 4G did. But having spent some time thinking about it for the last few months, I was also in Mobile Korea last week, I think 6G does bring in a few new elements, right? One is AI ML, AI. It could be a hype, but at some level, AI is here to stay. We've all replaced our search with AI, right? That's a basic thing, so it's not going to go away. And the network at a minimum has to serve AI. And AI, once it's born, you cannot keep the genie in the bottle. There will be agents and so on. So I think the need for low latency communication, etc., will happen with AI. There's a simple application I saw, not simple, complex, but an application that sort of can be the canonical application. So if you want to navigate, self-driving vehicles or drones, one way is what we do today. You put LiDAR and vision and cameras and try to navigate. The other way is you create a digital twin of the infrastructure, and this device consults the digital twin, and you're actually being navigated. So that requires a low latency communication for a drone to fly, where there's a digital map of the city, which is real time and is being provided by cell towers. So I thought of, what's a good, canonical application to fix on for 6G and AI and sensing. So and I think this is it. Navigate the drones, create a self-driving, create a digital map of the city with a combination of sensing from all the cell towers, and use AI to navigate, right? So that brings these things together. Of course, given the nature of the band, 7 gigahertz, and given that we've already progressed a lot in massive MIMO in 3.5, so 7 gigahertz is definitely going to be massive MIMO, ultra massive MIMO, probably 256 antenna elements, just given the space and size that we can make. Another one which I thought was very niche, maybe not so promising, but I've now changed my mind. I think it's important technology is RIS. Now, this is a filter. It's a reconfigurable filter. It's made on dielectric metal and so on. But if I look at filters in the optical domain, which I used to be in for many years, the mainstay filters there are based on dielectrics. And you can get very sharp cutoffs, they tailor the characteristics. I think RIS has this ability to do this in the bands of interest for us. That's going to be important because the propagation characteristics in 7 gigahertz are not great. And even if you want to do fixed wireless and you have beamforming and so on, you would still need to tailor the propagation into your home or across corners and so on. So I think this is a promising technology. It's based on metamaterials. I think we could do well to focus on this as an area and probably become a leader. Okay. In addition to wireless, there's also wireline. So wireline technology is advancing equally rapidly, though it doesn't get the same level of hype because it doesn't touch the consumer at the end, right? So the more traffic you generate in the wireless network, all of it has to be backhauled. Also, most of the traffic we don't generate in the wireless network. We generate in our offices and homes on fixed broadband networks. So the home access networks, which is probably 2.5 gig till yesterday, is already turning to 10 gig, and it will be 50 gig pipes to the home, because that may be what you need to experience everything that AI can deliver to you with low latencies. In addition, the backhaul transmission across the country is moving to multi-terabits. And in fact, one fiber, which actually carries well over 16 terabits, is no longer sufficient. People are putting 4 cores in the same fiber. So that's sort of space division multiplexing. So there's more technologies being developed, and all of these are opportunities for companies in India to make a mark. And that's actually the point of my talk, that there are these new technologies coming up, both in wireless, in some way or the other in 6G, and in fixed line networks, and we have a large market, so we can combine the two to build companies, right? So that way, India is a solid launch pad, and that's the Prime Minister's vision, to build companies out of India, make us a developed country, so we can build global telecom OEMs with this launch pad. In terms of numbers, in 6 years, our subscribers have 4G and 5G subscribers have doubled. The broadband subscribers have probably tripled. Average data usage is shown here as 27, but I think recently it touched 32 gigabytes per person per day. And this is the highest in the world. China is around 29, okay, and US is around less than that. So we as a country per capita consume highest data per day, right? And that opens up a lot of scope for us to build companies out of here. So what are the strengths to build companies? We have a lot of technology talent. In fact, a lot of the technology around the world gets built in India. I think Bangalore, Hyderabad, other cities as well, Gurgaon. There's global development centers. There's a lot of technology talent of the world in telecom sitting here. We have a large home market. I've already talked about that. Another key element is we are trusted, right? So there are geopolitical issues. There's the China camp and the US camp. I know they just made up last week, but I don't know how long the truce is going to last. But if you go around the world, India is seen as a trusted source by everybody. Okay, so that's something we can leverage. Okay, so I had the good fortune in Tejas, along with CDOT and TCS, to be part of this 4G, 5G stack. I think the government really, the Prime Minister and the team below him stood up to their word to say, if you prove that you can make the 4G stack, we will give you the business, right? They actually gave us the 100,000 site business after we proved. We've done about 98,000 of them. That was in the video that was played earlier. I think this really proved that, if you can do what you say you can do, the government does give you the opportunity for to succeed. Okay. now I think in the beginning, Mr. Ashok Kumar said I'll give you a prescription. So I thought about what advice I can share with others trying to build telecom companies out of here. So I just put these 4 things together. One is we need a lot of money. I think the Secretary DST is not here, but Professor Abhay Karandikar and his team has established a 100,000 crore fund which can sort of match venture funding or give you long-term loans. So I think this is a very important step. Just to tell you, in Tejas, we raised $100 million, over $100 million before we went IPO, $105 million. We raised another 600 crores in IPO, which was $120 million. So this is $225 million, and we raised $75 million before making 1 quarter of profit. So it's a huge amount of capital that you need. So my advice is don't underestimate the amount of capital that you need, right? In this business, you are actually pouring cash, building products, making no return, sustaining a huge R&D team. So you need all the funding, so take advantage of this funding, but get venture funding also. Use this to match, because you need the venture funding will help you to take you to markets and so on. Second, this is a very much neglected area in pretty much every company in India, product management, okay? We all think, mostly it's driven by engineering teams, scientists, engineers, you think you know what to build, okay, more or less, mostly because you have a favorite area of what you want to build and you want to build there. But a product to succeed in the marketplace needs to be very sharply defined. You can't match, say, an OEM, the portfolio of an Nokia or Ericsson. So you have to build something it's a much smaller team, 100th, but you have to build something that still succeeds in the marketplace. So product management to sharply define the product in relation to the market to succeed is extremely important. I would urge people to invest in that. Market access, to have a lead customer in India is a boon, okay? And I think the government's enabling that, and we should all take advantage of that. But this is only the first step. We would not succeed by serving only this sort of the assured market. We have to use this as a stepping stone to serve the broader market. Brand helps, and I can tell you that after Tata's took over, the customer acquisition has been much easier overseas. You just say Tata and they say, yes, what do you have to sell to us, right? But I think we should develop the India brand. And before Tata, we used to leverage IT companies, pharma companies, two-wheeler companies. When we went to Colombia, it's all two-wheeler. So we leverage the India brand somehow. I think now in telecom, India is making a brand. So we need the brand and references, which the Indian market gives us. Okay. So I think I'm just reiterating all the enablers that are, I'm saying this because I think we have lived through this in the last 5-6 years in India. Okay. So the government has been a very, very vocal for local, and it's not just been verbal support. There's action on the ground in terms of funding, market access, and so on. Okay. And with this opportunity to succeed in India, we can really succeed in other countries. For example, Africa does not have any 5G. Okay, zero. Most of Southeast Asia has 0 5G. So we can go to these markets and establish ourselves with the 5G products. And Professor Kiran already talked about boosting IPRs from India, so I won't touch upon that. But that's important to establish leadership in this market. Okay. So this is a snapshot of my company. We're part of the Tata Group. We've been a big beneficiary of the Indian government's initiative to build 4G, 5G stack from India. So I'm grateful to them. And I wish all of you the best. You're trying to build companies out of here. I'm always available if you want to talk to me about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sivarajan, for your analysis and also the prescription. You do outline the prescription for all of us, mainly to the government, to achieve the global leadership. So you also talked about our strength, India's strength in terms of the talent we have, the market size we have, and also the trust of the world which we have. You talked about the advanced technology, the promising advanced technologies like reflective intelligence service, ESTIC, the massive or gigantic MIMO, and also the NTN, the satellite integration with the terrestrial network. So now, in this series, the last talk is from Ramu Srinivas, co-founder and director of Lekha Wireless. He will reimagine network architecture with his talk on private networks reimagined, O-RAN's expanding role in 6G network design. He will show us how leveraging O-RAN architecture combined with policy backing can fast-track 6G deployment and open up new business opportunity in line with the Viksit Bharat vision. So, Ramu, please. So, big round of applause for him.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for the organizers giving me this opportunity to speak about an important topic. So as a company, Lekha Wireless has been in business for last 15 years. We have built technologies. We started with WiMAX and then moved on to 4G, 5G, and now there's a small team working on 6G innovation. So we have gone through a journey where we had a product which is 4G, which was an integrated solution. And at the time of making decision, we consciously took a decision to align ourselves with Open RAN. So today in my talk, I would like to focus on the decisions we take, how they shape up the future of companies, the decision we take today, how they shape up the future of networks, as well as the decision we take as a country, how it shapes up our future as a country where how we can depend on this network for build our economies. So it's very important we take right decision at right time, which actually shapes up our future. So this will be my primary focus on the topic today, which is how it is circled around Open RAN technology. So just to give a background, we have about 5 lakh crore investment by all the operators in the country on 5G network infrastructure. So generally, we see that the 70% of the cost goes towards radio network, which is a general norm. And so the radio network has two parts. The one which sits on the tower, primarily the radios, which has got an antenna and the radio, which sits on the tower. And then there is another part which sits at the ground along with other equipment. So basically it's a compute. So these are the two hardware investment what operators do. Of course, there is other technology aspects which I'm not covering. Primarily, I'm trying to focus on the hardware aspects of the Open RAN, network. So radio hardware, which is again within this, contributes about 60 to 70% of the cost. So here we are talking of about 2.5 lakh crore spent on radios installed on the tower. So when I talk of radios installed on the tower, there is a manufacturing that happens. There's the installation, commissioning. Generally, for every generation of the network, this stays, right? Say it is dedicated to a spectrum, a particular set of bands, and it stays on the tower. And generally, you don't change it unless there's a need for changing it. So when we make these kind of investment, when we move from 4G to 5G, 5G to 6G, right? So there is 50% of the investment which can continue to be part of the network, and that brings a stickiness, right? Because without these are built with an open standard, this entire asset becomes a stickiness where you have to stick with the same vendor. So it's very important aspect. So I'll be detailing further on that aspect. So private 5G network deployment is something which is another thing which is happening in parallel, because all the discussions today we talked about operator network, which is a country's network backbone, and apart from that there is also a parallel networks that are getting built, which is private networks which are enabling the next generation industries, next generation enterprises, and they have a key role to play. So this is something which I would like to, because as a Lekha we have not got a major opportunity to deploy in operator network. but we have been working with some of the enterprise network, how they are using the technology, how it is transforming the businesses. So I would like to cover how the private network can contribute to the overall the 6G network in the future, right? Our learning, primarily our learning. So this is a comparison between Open RAN. We talk about a traditional RAN where it is closed network, and an Open RAN with openness, right? Where all the interfaces are standardized. So the Open RAN is expected to increase the competition. In fact, we see that the competition in the private network is a lot higher today compared to the operator network, because there are a handful of vendors you have to choose with. So the software-based design, innovation, so there is a lot of things, all these things. I would like to, in the interest of time, I want to rush through this slide, but there is a lot of innovations that are coming in, because the private networks doesn't have the baggage of the previous generation network. We are not talking of how do I interwork with 2G, 3G. Like, it's a greenfield networks where it's open for new innovations, and it's an opportunity for new vendors to come in. So that way private networks are evolving slowly but steadily, and we see that the Open RAN has a major contribution. So ORAN adoption in terms of vendor neutrality, I spoke about that earlier. So generally, when I go and speak to most of the enterprise network, they are very, very clear. They want to see to it that in the case of the operator network, we are deploying radios on the tower. In the case of a private network, we are deploying the access points within the building. We are deploying the radios which are for covering the campus. It could be a mining area, it could be a factory where we are automating the whole the system there, manufacturing. So I see that there are definitely leaders who are looking at how they can leverage this network, how they can make sure it's a long-term planning. So generally I have seen that there are careful consideration in terms of adapting a new technology. So when they deploy the radios, they have to see to it that the radios are usable. Generally the vendors who are supplying are newcomers, and there is a high possibility that they may go out of business or they may stop supporting. They need to have a backup plan. So that is one of the reasons where they are looking at Open RAN as a technology, where today if you are deploying a radio from vendor A, tomorrow you can switch over to vendor B in case if there is no support. And when they are investing on the compute, they are not asking the radio vendors to supply. They are buying the servers directly from the vendors and asking us to install, right? So basically the hardware and the software is getting separated here. And also they are looking at a long-term availability of services and long-term investment. Whatever is invested is really helping them in long term. So these are some of the key points I would like to highlight as I move forward, talking about the importance of these considerations when we are building 6G network, and how we should plan our strategy for 6G. So from our learning, all this 5G deployment, we see that there are very clear areas, the bright spots for Open RAN. The openness is something which is important aspect of the 6G network. So as I spoke earlier, say we have radios, we have the baseband compute, which is separated with front haul. And today 7.2 split is something which is defined in the Open RAN standard, which has become very popular and a lot of industry adoption. It's very important. We should actually, as we go forward, make sure the front hauls, because the separation of radios and the baseband is here to stay, even in 6G for terrestrial network. And we see that it's very important. We should adapt. We should make sure the open front haul evolves as part of the 6G standard. So moving forward, mainly there are many interfaces which are allowing, as the earlier speakers talk about it, the AI and AI related applications. So these open interfaces is going to allow a new set of applications that can come on top of network. So again, Open RAN is very critical for our journey towards migration towards AI-based network, right? AI native network. 6G, one of the key aspect is 6G will be the first AI native network, and Open RAN can play a critical role there. And also the mid-haul. So I see that mid-haul is something which is both Professor Kiran and Dr. Kumar Shivarajan mentioned about the NTN aspect. So NTN is something which is going to again depend on the mid-haul between the satellite and the ground station. So these are very key interfaces. India has to look, primarily there is a lot of effort which is going towards contribution to the standard. We have set ourselves, Prime Minister has given a vision, Bharat 6G vision, and how ORAN can align with that. This is something which I would like to talk about. 6G shall be an inherently built openness and critical for breaking away from lock-in. Say primarily, as I mentioned, there are innovations happening in the radios, there are innovations happening in the baseband processing, and we don't have very big companies, large brands, right? So, of course, there's a journey started, as Dr. Kumar mentioned. So, there are a lot of new players who are coming in. We need to make sure that there is a open interfaces available in our network, what we are building tomorrow. That's very important. Merging popular ORAN interfaces into the 3GPP standard is something which is very important, because as the standards are evolving, the interfaces also has to evolve, because this will enable our future network accessible to the new companies who can actually think of building radio alone, or DU alone, or CU alone. So this is very important. So we have to consider that as part of our standardization journey. This is something which I would like to focus on. And 6G is expected to be a native support for AI and ML, and some of these interfaces again are very critical for companies who are aspiring to develop a lot of AI-based application in the country, and the network infrastructure vendor should be able to provide necessary open interfaces where they can bring in their application. And a lot of research depends on the data that is going to come out from this network. Today, most of our network cannot offer these data because it's kind of closed interfaces, right? This is where operators also can play a role, and the contribution, already Professor Kiran mentioned about having developing a pre-standardization network. That's very important, and also we need to have a national mission, because I keep hearing Open RAN has not been successful in 5G. Of course, Open RAN is a interface which is defined. It is primarily up for grabbing, so for new vendors to come in. And today, if we look at overall 5G deployment, most of it is deployed by the existing same operators. So naturally, you will not see that Open RAN deployment is not that successful in our operator network, because it's the same vendors who deployed majority of the network, right? So it's very important. We have to consider what are the key objectives, and we have to see as a country, is this objectives aligned with my vision for the country? And based on that, we have to stand behind it, and it will be successful in 6G. So coming to the how ORAN can align with Viksit Bharat 2047 vision. So again, it's very important, as I mentioned in the beginning of the talk, that today the decisions we take are going to shape up our future. So we are talking of promoting innovation. We are asking more companies to come into this. So we have to set a platform. We have to create a framework where a lot of new companies can come in, contribute, and make a future network. So today, as I mentioned, it is a last opportunity, because today the 5G rollout has happened where they are not with Open RAN. So here there is an opportunity for us to say that the 6G deployment will be with ORAN, and it is mandatory for all the operators. So this is something which can actually shape our journey towards 2047, because our operators will have opportunity to mix and match anytime, because they may not start with multiple vendors. There are some difficulties and things like that, but it has to move towards it. There is no other go, right? We have to make sure as a policy, if we can bring Open RAN as a country's network infrastructure, that is one of the key point. And also today, like say, we have seen how the network operators have suffered in the recent conflicts, where they have deployed huge amount of money in the network and the vendors stopped supporting. There were news where the radios were stolen and shipped to other countries. So these are the situation. Basically, it's a huge investment. We're talking of about 5 lakh crore investment, and the entire economy depends on this network. And if we don't design a network which is in our control, where in a situation where I'll be able to respin it. So that is very important aspect. As a country, when we move forward, Open RAN can give a solution for that. So I would request policy makers to look into this as a part of our Viksit Bharat vision. And investment on 6G network will be multifold compared to 5G, because ORAN is not just going to be data-only network. As the earlier speaker mentioned, there are a lot of new services beyond data is going to come in. And when we want to get more out of this network, because a 5 lakh crore probably it will be much higher as we move towards 6G, I will not be just delivering data only network. I will be getting more other services, be it integrated sensing and communication, or intelligent reflecting surfaces. There are many new dimensions where it is going to look beyond data only network. So it's very important we have to make the design such a way that it can deliver those services and new players can come in and bring those services. So openness is another important building block. And enforcing disaggregated network, this is very critical, as I mentioned. So if we don't enforce disaggregated network, again we will be in trouble, right? So we are not encouraging new players to come in. At the same time, it is not possible to interwork. So promoting interworking, having OT labs, these are some of the key aspects we missed out in the 5G. We should look seriously on the 6G. And separation of hardware and software. These are the last thing which I would like to mention. India has taken a journey on semiconductor. If semiconductor has to the networks has to complement semiconductor, it is very important we should have the ORAN, because it separates hardware and software. Tomorrow when our companies bring semiconductor chips, our software should be able to run on top of that, right, independently. So with this I will conclude my talk. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ramuji. You talked about ingredient of the ORAN, which is the open interface, disaggregated hardware and software, and of course the RAN split 7.2 split you talked about. We also see traction in 3GPP for adoption of ORAN specifications. So perhaps your vision will come true on that. So your talk about how ORAN architecture can be a catalyst for innovation and rapid 6G deployment in India is truly like we have to follow in true spirit. Thank you, Ramu. So now, as we have heard our three powerful and distinct visions that together create a comprehensive blueprint for India's 6G future, from roadmap to policy and to the network architecture, which Ramu spelt about. To connect all these visions together and to summarize the session outcome, I would once again like to invite Professor Kiran Kuchi to the podium to summarize the talk which we just had. Thank you.
Thank you. We had very interesting views and discussion this morning. I'll first clarify a few points on this Open RAN, because our CEO C. has really championed this Bharat RAN. He'll talk about it. I don't want to steal his thunder. With several companies put together to create a consortium, and in a record time they brought in a TRL 7.8 5G, both NSA and SA. That was a testament to the power of Open RAN, how you can accelerate by building multiple vendors. Having said that, the world at large has moved differently in adoption of Open RAN. But very interestingly, AT&T's nationwide network was announced to be Open RAN, and the first Open RAN call was made by Ericsson in the AT&T network just a week ago. So it is actually a reality. One of the largest networks in the world is now run through Open RAN, but it is a single vendor Open RAN. Very, very, very strange kind of. So the dream was multi-vendor Open RAN. That was, what Ramu was alluding to. But it has turned out to be a very large single vendor Open RAN network. But nevertheless, this actually tells you one thing, that the two tales of CDOT's successful model of putting together small players to build a very complex 5G, and a single vendor network by Ericsson, AT&T. Of course, there was Fujitsu and Intel and others in that network. The open interfaces are the most powerful, is the most powerful concept. The moment you have open interfaces, they're embraced in 6G in the vision. And these open interfaces open the door for many things. You can be a single vendor, you can mix and match components, and it will accelerate the time to market. I'm pretty sure many vendors will tend to agree with this. So that's the most useful. Whether it's going to be multi-vendor network or a single vendor Open RAN network, or you call it Open RAN or not, is a matter of detail, and the market will decide it in the 6G era. Coming back to Kumar has given very interesting views. You need about $200 million before you actually make money. That is true. I mean, you see the other vendors, Nokia and Ericsson, the amount of money they put into their R&D is just incredible amount of money. The telecom requires huge investments, huge. So 200 million is just a small sample in this case, just to do a subset of the products that's being built. So what this really means is that for India to be self-sufficient, and having this indigenous tech developed, covering both 5G and 6G, we're talking about billions of dollars of investment. It's not to say that the government will give you all the money, but I think the funding from the government is an essential part of spurring this, several companies to build this. Of course, they'll have to raise the venture capital funding. So that's an interesting takeaway. And he also talked about product development, product managers, and product development culture. I think telecom is still new, and getting to the level of sophistication and the quality required to do a nationwide network or a global network, we have a long way to go. But I think we'll have to work at it. And the Honorable Secretary has said the path forward is going to be very difficult. Yes, it is difficult. Indeed, it's difficult. But to become Atmanirbhar and what has been envisaged by the government, there is a tremendous opportunity in front of us, but we'll have to work very, very hard at it, and with the support from government and funding and with private capital, I think India will make it her mark in the next decade. I'll close my remarks. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Kiran Kuchi, for this apt and powerful summary of the session outcome. So let's give a big round of applause for all our eminent speakers today. So I know that we are running out of time, but I also I'm sort of a greedy in the sense that morning group photograph, we missed some of the panelists, and also I see some of the dignitary in the audience. Our member technology, R.N. Pallai sir, ASNFA, Madam Prasad, and also CUNRF. So can we have one more group photograph along with the speaker and our panelist from the next session? And also I request Pallai sir, Madam Prasad, and CUNRF to come on the stage for a group photograph along with us. Thank you. The next panelist, Robert sir, Upadhyay sir, Ganti sir. So thank you. And now I hand this over to IUC for the, एक last में कर लेंगे. So आ जाओ. IUC for the next panel discussion. IUC, over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. A very warm welcome to all present here for the next panel discussion session on digital communication theme under the Emerging Science, Technology and Innovation Concept 2025. This panel session holds great importance as we discuss how digital communication is evolving with indigenous R&D, 6G readiness, open networks and future technologies. We are truly honored to have among us eminent experts from government, academia and industry who are leading India's digital transformation journey. I extend a warm welcome to our moderator, Dr. Rajkumar Upadhyay, CEO, Center of Development of Telematics, C. New Delhi, a visionary leader in advancing indigenous telecom technology and innovation. Welcome, sir. I also take great pleasure in welcoming our distinguished panel members, Professor Radhakrishna Ghanti, Professor of Department of Electrical Engineering, IIT Madras. Professor Vijay Kumar, Department of Electrical Communication Engineering, IISc Bangalore. Shri Robert Ravi Sir, CMD, BSNL, New Delhi. Shri Parag Nayak, Founder and CEO, Sankhya Lab Private Limited, Bangalore. We are privileged to have all of you with us today, sir. I now invite the moderator, Rajkumar Upadhyay sir, and all our esteemed panelists to kindly start the panel discussion. And I welcome moderator sir to have his opening remarks.
Good afternoon, everyone. I think it is an honor and privilege for me to be here in ESTIC 2025 and moderating this panel with our visionary and very esteemed panelist. As you know, India is pushing for Atmanirbhar Bharat and self-reliance through indigenization. And this is a very crucial phase of our development story India is having. We have become fourth largest economy and soon we want to become third largest economy, and we all know that without technology this is impossible, and therefore we have to have a lot of indigenization push if we have to become technology advanced and developed nation by 2047. We know that we have made a lot of progress in defense, in the space sector, in telecom sector, and especially in digital infrastructure. Manufacturing we have done quite well. We have launched our 4G, 5G stack in BSNL recently, thanks to Robert Ravi, CMD BSNL. We have the vision for 2030 6G, where Honorable Prime Minister has launched the 6G vision. We also have National Quantum Mission. We aspire to become one of the lead suppliers of global technology in quantum communication. We have made good progress in terms of production from 1.9 lakh crore in 14-15. Our production last year was 11.3 lakh crore. We exported 3.3 2 lakh crore of worth of electronic equipments, and import was around 2.6. So there are a lot of challenges which our panel will discuss in terms of R&D and innovation gap, dependence on critical imports, skill deficit, fragmented ecosystem, because we all do research in fragmented areas, and there are efforts to see that how we can unite together and develop in a cohesive system. We also talk about sometimes regulatory and bureaucratic hurdles, limited access to capital, technology transfer barriers. But we definitely have a great opportunity with us in terms of bringing self-reliance in not only strategic sectors, in general sectors as well. Government has been doing wonderful job in terms of giving policy like TTDF, DCIS, RDI, ISM, ECMS, AI mission. There's a lot many things have come up from the government side, and therefore there is a wonderful time for us to actually use the talent in the country, use the demographic dividend for doing the indigenization in the country. If we have to become Viksit Bharat, we have to take indigenization to the next level, and therefore I would request my esteemed panelists, the first question is that if we have to take India to a developed nation by 2047, we definitely have to take indigenization to the next level. So in this journey of indigenization or technological self-reliance, where do you think we stand today? And also, how do we define next level indigenization? Is it about just increasing the indigenous footprint, or truly designing and innovating in India, within India, for the globe? So I would, because this, I think you can throw light based on your own experiences. So we will 2.5 minutes approximately each panelist. You can talk about what should India do, where we are, and what we need to do. I'll start with Professor Ganti. I think we can go this way, the way it is aligned. Professor Ganti has been himself a master in 5G, AI, so many things. I think a lot of things are happening in IIT Madras.
Can I sit down and start? Is it okay?
Yeah.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks. I first thank the organizers for having me here. It's a pleasure to be here. It's a wonderful last 3 days of excellent talks and incredible speakers. So coming back to the question that Upadhyaya sir has asked, so I'm going to restrict myself to telecom and wireless because that's my area of expertise, not so much in quantum. So there are two parts of this. One is the fundamental research that we do, and the other is the product building. Okay, of course, both of them are related. So in fundamental research, there's a lot of work that's going on across the country in different IITs, IACs, NITs, and other institutions, other research institutions. So you're talking about the next generation communication, so there are lots of newer technologies, full duplex radios, satellite communications, newer waveforms, advanced architecture for radios, AI/ML, terahertz systems, next generation core networks, scaling of core networks to billions of users, optical communication. So a lot of significant research is happening and a lot of funding is happening for all of this. But this is one significant point that I want to raise. The thing is, we are not at scale. Okay? Even if you look at the number of people working in these core areas across India, you can count them on your fingers. So this is not sufficient. If you really want to do Viksit Bharat and you want to come to the level of our northern neighbors, I think we should scale this by a factor of 100. The question is, how do we do it? I don't have answers to that, but I think that is the ambition at which we have to think about. Coming to products, so research is one thing, translating of these products to translating this research into products is a completely different game. Okay, this is where industries, startups, MSMEs, and other things can come into picture. Even in this regard, significant amount of effort has been put by Government of India and, of course, the industry also. In the last 5 years, I wouldn't have said this same thing about 10 years back. If you have asked me this question, I would have said, oh, of course, there's no industry. But now, in the last 5 years, I see a significant work that is being done by industry. Again, thanks to a very focused effort. Several test beds have been done, several stacks have been developed indigenously, chips have been developed. So if you look at what happened in the last few years, as Upadhyaya sir pointed out, we have become a system aggregator. Okay, so we are taking components from other countries, components that have been built by semiconductors that have been built by other places, putting them together, making sure things work out, thinking in terms of like a systems perspective. and making sure the whole end-to-end system works, which is good. That's the first step to be taken. But now what we have to do is we have to dream a little bit bigger. We have to say that some of the components that we have bought from other countries now has to be replaced by our own indigenous efforts. Okay, I think that should be our vision going forward. I think at least my personal goal is to see that significant number of components that we use on our radios, in our baseband units, are made in India at a scale that we can export. Okay, coming back to this question on how do we define the next generation of innovation? Okay, I just thought about this question. I would say that we have to build end-to-end systems. I am not talking about wireless or digital. End-to-end systems with 50% content in both software, both software and hardware. I think when we do that, I think that we reach the next level of innovation from our side. Okay. So to do this, we have to increase our R&D. We have to make sure that our startups are nurtured enough, given opportunities to build and prosper in this thing. Telecom is a very, very competitive business. Okay, so there are only 2 or 3 operators in India, so we have to look for greener fields outside. So this requires government help. And I think there should be a focused, I mean, our vision should be in 6G that we should achieve a particular target, and all the government agencies should work together to ensure that this happens. I mean, this is not only the domain of DOT or the only domain of MIT. I think a lot of things have to come together so that this is really this is something that can really happen. So that's all from us. Thank you.
Professor Vijay.
Yep, thank you. First of all, I'd like to begin by thanking Professor Abhay Karandikar and Professor Kiran Kuchi for the invitation to speak. Thank you, Dr. Upadhyay, for the question. I'll give a kind of an academic viewpoint. I mean, from my point, I think India has made really rapid strides as far as indigenization is concerned. If you look in the space sector, right, with Mangalyaan and Chandrayaan, and then also the privatization of space has also will accelerate the development of indigenous technology. So I've looked at the startup like Skyroot, which has ready to launch rockets. And then also I was involved with a startup called Vyomic, who are planning to set up a LEO PNT. So that again is a sign that India is taking great strides. In the technology sector, we've also seen this massive rollout of 5G and 4G stacks by Tejas Networks, and then also the Open RAN efforts of WiSig, the radio equipment development by Lekha Wireless. So to me, these are signs of rapid strides in indigenous technology development. I attended IMC 2025 that was heard a little short while ago, and I was blown away when I walked in there and saw intelligent reflecting surface by Tejas, and I thought, okay, up to then it was just a theoretical concept that I was reading about in journals, but when I saw it actually in use, I was blown away. So that's how fast India is moving. The question is, should you increase your footprint or should you do something different? And I interpret that different as saying, what my old university calls create the technology that never was. So if you want to get to the point where you're truly innovative, I think then you have to, by the way, I think you should do both. You should extend your footprint because extending the footprint gives you the confidence. Once you've done something indigenously, you get the confidence to say, okay, we've done this. Now, can't we do better? And I think that was somewhat along the lines of what Professor Radhakrishna was alluding to. So I think, but to actually make truly innovative discoveries, I think I'll dig a little bit deeper because you have to go and bring in this innovation at lower levels. I mean, even at high school levels, right? Exams kind of kill creativity. Whereas if you are involved in a school project, that enhances creativity. And then I think, so in universities, I think what happens is that researchers, first of all, I think should be helped to work on the relevant problems. And I think their industry-university collaboration and interaction is very good. And in the US, they used to have annual meetings between universities and academias. So, and forums like this are great. Indian Mobile Congress was great, ESTIC is great, because academicians come here and you get to know what are the real problems and what can be done. The talk on the optical clock was really mind-boggling and gives you an idea of what you can do. So research can be curiosity-driven, like that research was, but it can also be driven by realizing what the pain point in a particular application is, and that you'll come to know only when you interact closely with industry. The other thing is that once you've developed the research, then you enter this valley of death, where between TRL levels 4 and 7, and the question is, how do you get over that? ISC has an incubation center, and I think that does very well. And you need centers like this to help you bridge the gap. And there's a company called Bellatrix, which does advanced propulsion systems, which came out of that incubation center. So I think we need to bridge that gap to get to truly bring in new ideas. So we have taken great strides, but I think we can grow by leaps and bounds. Thank you.
I think I should thank the organizers for giving an opportunity. Thank you, RK, for just putting up the platform and the question for where are we today and what is the next move. Let us sit back and say what we have done currently. Let us take 3 critical sectors: the defense, the telecom, and the space. Yeah, in defense we did Mammoth. I think reports say close to more than 1 lakh crores of various technologies has gone in. We did a lot of work in export in defense. Telecom, let me come to the last. The space sector, you know what mammoth thing has happened. We did the Chandrayaan 3. Navik was a real indigenous thing which came up from India. And of course, we are even now talking about LEO constellations, like what we was trying to say. We were once a pioneer on GEO and MEO. Now we are talking about LEO. Now we are also talking about, say, 140 of these constellations can carry up, because you know the next networks, when you talk about 6G, is going to be on NTN, non-terrestrial networks. So it will be going to be a smooth conversation whether you are in the space or you are under the submarine or in your land. So this is just possible only when you have a real connectivity across. Now, in the telecom side, you know what great innovation has been. Thanks and hats off to CDOT, Tejas, TCS, who really pulled off today we have what we call our own indigenous 4G stack. A proud moment. Countries which took years to make, we made it in 2-3 years. Today we can proudly say, whatever is required in the country, you want a certain secure envelope to be built in a particular area, it is possible. Because the stack is us. The 4G stack is mine. I can develop everything. That's the enormous amount of indigenous thing that has went in the telecom sector. And we're glad we even rolled out. Today we have enough towers on the field. In terms of telecom, we did not only speak. Today we are carrying traffic on these indigenous technology. That's the amount of growth that is gone in this indigenous. Yeah. Is it sufficient, or where we are going? What should be our next level? If you just sit back a bit and see what we are trying to do, yes, we have done the first building blocks of what we call the indigenous technology. We are a customer of technologies. We try to do the technologies, we become a customer of technologies. What we should aim, and that's what the government is pushing in terms of different missions. We should be a co-creator, a co-leader in what we do. Which means, when you talk about indigenous, starting from your chipsets, your softwares, you completely design the entire area. That gives you enormous control on what India wants. We have to see, The country is having the aptitude and you have the enough space to absorb these new products. So why don't we become world leaders in it? So I think this is most critical for us if we go and we talk about what we call the Atmanirbhar. We have various versions. We should term it as version 4. We should become a co-creator. We should design our notebooks. Can our own design of the network be fit to our own requirement? That is the need of the hour. We brought in a real technological change in 5G, even in our standardizations. Most of us know that. We brought in India-specific standard, 5G-I. We brought in an ubiquitous connectivity. Is it being used today? We need to know. Why? Because we are trying to do technology. We are not doing creation of the end-to-end. So this will have to happen in the next decade. So I think all of us should put our heads and think on this area. Then it will be a true Make in India operation.
Firstly, thank Professor Karandikar for giving me an opportunity and his leadership. I think like Kiran mentioned, starting with TSDSI and stuff like that, we are here today so far. I think just to monkey balance, the other 3 panelists were looking at the glass half full, I look at it half empty. So let me take the other side. I think our indigenization process, while a good start, is actually in some cases is a mixed bag. So let's talk about the much touted semiconductors, right? Since 2020, post-COVID, everybody realized we also need chips to run all the e-commerce applications. So there, from a manufacturing perspective, there's been a lot of investments, but on the fabless side, we've been pushing on a journey for 16 years now, or talking about that. We hardly generate 4 wafers a month or 5 wafers a month. So we are far away from that perspective to actually claim significant any progress at all. But there are green shoots as always. On the telecom system side, I think there's been on the enterprise side, there has been a fairly good, I would say, progress that we've done with the indigenous 4G stack and the 5G stack that's happening. But on the mobile side, on the consumer side, we are practically zero. The supply chain that we have is mostly manufacturing. We hardly have a single component from India in any one of the phones, other than just screwdriver technology that we have today. But having said that, we've been pushing an indigenous stack called direct to mobile, which has ramifications from completely built like Mr. Robert said, not just co-create, but we've created the tech stack based on our needs, based on the consumer needs of India, based on what technology is available, and then done that. But we do face a lot of policy hurdles because when you do innovation, there's a mindset, right? You have to look far ahead. It's like I always give this analogy of a good real estate developer in Bangalore. You should be able to predict where the next airport is going to come from and buy land much before you actually the airport comes in there, right? So that you get a good rate. If you go in late, then it's too late, right? That's the challenge that we have. And on the question on whether we should do the bottom-up approach, where we start to indigenize existing products, create import substitutes, or build innovative products, we have to do both. The first one is the China model. So if you look at it from a semiconductor perspective, every sub $5, sub $10 chip in the world is dominated by the Chinese supply chain. Right? Nobody else can even come close to them. We have the cost structures to go tackle Chinese in that segment, but we haven't managed to do so far. The other one is the top-down, right? The top-down one, we don't have to look far. Look at UPI. In an entrenched financial dog-eat-dog market, we completely created a completely new innovation from an India stack perspective. I think on the 6G part, I believe we've got our story wrong. We should be looking at a UPI-like model. Like we had India stack, we probably should look at India telecom stack, Open RAN or Open RAN on steroids.
where where we could define and punch to our weight, being the second largest telecom market. So that is something that that probably needs a big mindset shift, both from policymakers and the fact that we might potentially even fail. Also, when a new order comes in, you can't play to the old rules of the game. To give you a military analogy, that's my favorite one. When Shivaji took on the Mughal empire, you don't fight the Mughal army on the plains because they're very powerful. The existing 3GPP ecosystem is a bunch of oligarchs who are very powerful. Playing to them, to their strengths, is very difficult. So you need to change the rules of the game. And now that is something that UP has done. I hope we go down that route and do that. And finally, I always remember on how to do it. I think Dr. Paulraj said this either in a personal meeting or was it in a general thing, I don't know. He said once failed startup is equal to 1,000 papers. And that's his words, not mine. So I think that echoes what Vijay also said. So we have to encourage and start to build and fail. If we don't do that, that is going to be a challenge. So also you need a critical mass of startups before we actually get a unicorn out of any one of this. And like in Tejas and in Sankhya that we did, it's taken us 25 years to get where we are, right? That's the time frame that we should also look at. And maybe hopefully just in time for 2047.
Thank you. With that note of, thank you all the panelists for giving that perspective. And I like the idea of Parag that let us be disruptive rather than following the word. So my next question, building on that to Professor Ganti, that we have been great as a country in the software development. In fact, we are called the software factory of the world. But if you look at the owning IPs or developing our own IPs, we are the labor market for the Western world. We create all the IPs here, and therefore we have always neglected the product part. We have been, the hardware development has gone to the second-class citizen. So there was a point brought out that chips are required, end-to-end systems are required. So what do you think we should be doing so that we come out as a product nation rather than the labor market for the Western world? So what should we do to come out, to migrate from the software to hardware to end-to-end systems?
Very, very interesting question, question that's close to my heart. I think so every product that we currently have is a combination of hardware and software. And companies which have really succeeded are the ones which have both of them. Apple, Nvidia, they have their market dominance is because they have both. Okay. Saying this, why are we not so good at hardware? We are good. Of course, there are pockets of excellence everywhere, but on a scale like software, why are we not doing that? Okay. I think this starts at the basic education. If you look at our kids, our school students, our university students, they are not at all hands-on. They like to sit down, dream, they like to write. IIT guys like to theories, equations, and which is all wonderful. But they don't do labs. Okay, this is a fundamental issue that we don't tinker with our own hands. It's a completely different game. Of course, both of them are complementary to each other. One helps the other, but I think developing this kind of tinkering nature from the very beginning is very utmost importance. I think, there are of course things which are in this regard, but I think we should again scale it up big time. Even in universities like IITs, our labs are like physics lab you do once in the first semester, and then I don't think you ever touch you don't even know what a lab is. You do a little bit of electronics here and there, but nothing at a scale which you have to immerse in itself. That's a very big problem. And nowadays with this AML into picture, even the conventional systems are dying. Everything, all the courses now we tag with digital communication -AI ML. So I think we are getting into a bigger problem that people should tinker with hardware, people should put hands-on approach and build stuff. Okay? So this is recurring. I think this is something that has to be done from universities, schools, and of course, this will give you enough people to work in with that kind of a mindset in companies. Okay, you require that. And secondly, from a startup perspective or industry perspective, designing hardware is tough. It takes longer cycles than software. I mean, of course, when I say hardware, I also mean that very embedded software also I consider as hardware. I mean, it's not like, when I say software, it's like writing HTML stacks and other things. That is what I consider as software. I mean, so developing these things is tough. They take time and it's a lot of effort. I mean, the time scales are larger. So this is where I think, again, we have to be patient. We have to encourage hardware startups. I mean, as much as we encourage software startups, we have to encourage them. We have to handhold. We have to be patient. And the barrier to entry is also tough for hardware. So that is where government has to step in. And I think it's a combination of doing this at the fundamental level of education and supporting them at startups. I think both these things are required if you really want to master hardware and software. Okay, without both of this, you can't build a good product. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Ganti. Now I turn to Professor Vijay Kumar. We know that satellite communication is going to be one of the key areas, and today it is not only being used for communication, it is being used for weather forecasting, water management, surveillance, security. I understand you have been working in the satellite technology, and especially Navik was touched upon by Robert and Parag. So what have been the advancements in this satellite and what we need to do, and how are your efforts in this domain? And please enlighten us that what is being done and what is the future about it.
Yeah, thank you, sir, for the question. That's true that I've been working with ISRO for the past 5-6 years, and this has to do with navigation. So ISRO actually has rather big plans for NAVIC. First of all, just with regard to what is NAVIC doing in terms of applications. One is right now, for example, there's something called distress alert terminal, which is if you're a fisherman and you're stranded at sea, you get the NAVIC signal, you know where you're located, you send your distress signal, it's picked up by a different satellite, sent to the ground network, and that ground network then so what happens is that it transmits to NAVIC, and NAVIC broadcasts a message saying your message has been received. So lives have been saved through this. So that's one thing NAVIC does. Another thing is soil moisture determination, because what happens is that the NAVIC signal reflects off the surface of the earth and picked up by another satellite, and using this you're able to determine soil moisture, which makes a big difference to agriculture. Commercial vehicles are also tracked using NAVIC. So that's another application. Down the line, going into the future, there are things like, right now we are used to toll booths when we go enter a highway, but there's plans to do what they call toll booth free tolling, where it will be the satellite that will, you will be recording your location, transmitting it to the ground, and they'll know when you entered the freeway and when you exited. So that was already piloted between Bangalore and Mysore, but that's going to come. And there are many other things, like even for controlling drones, we're going to be using NAVIC. In terms of what's happening in terms of the technological development of NAVIC, so they introduced, they were transmitting in the L5 and S band. So they needed a signal in the L1 band because all your mobiles are tuned to the L1 band, and NAVIC didn't have a signal there. So that's where we came into the picture. So now NAVIC has launched the first satellite carrying the L1 band in 2023. And once they have 3 or 4 satellites, you'll all be able to receive NAVIC signals. For example, Apple 17, the iPhone 17 is able to receive the L1 signal. The other thing is, I think other people have mentioned that NAVIC is also going MEO. There are plans to go MEO with once they build up to a constellation of 7 satellites, they're going to go to MEO, medium Earth orbit, plans to have 27 satellites and global coverage. And they've decided that as far as LEO PNT is concerned, it's better in the hands of private. So that's something that's happening. On the global, I've been listening to international global conferences and get a sense of what's happening around the world. And one thing which is very exciting is that they're planning to set up a PNT system around the moon. That is both NASA, ESA, JAXA, Japan, are all planning, and even China are planning to set up small navigation satellite systems around the moon, and that's something exciting. And ISRO also is contributing something there in the form of pseudolights. And the moon, as ESA people said that before we, I think NASA said that we traveled to the moon before, but this time we're going to stay there. So lots of exciting things happening on the moon.
So thank you so much for bringing that perspective. Now I turn to Parag. Before I come to Ravi, to you. You know the supply chain risks, geopolitical problems which we faced, and our ambition to go for product development. And chips are very necessary, be it automotive sector, be it space, be it defense, be it telecom. I think some work is happening. You yourself have been the pioneer in the chip development. And we also know that the value appropriation in terms of chip, maximum money goes to the IP creator. Where are we and what we need to do? Because as a product nation, one of the key requirements will be to develop chips if you have to have end-to-end control. What should be done? What should India do? And what is your advice to the government? We are already doing India Semiconductor Mission. A lot of funding is happening in terms of creating fab, creating IPs. What are your suggestions that India can scale this effort?
Sure, sir. Before that, I'll just expand on what RK said, because that's also close to my heart, right? I think one of the reasons we are not a product nation is we have to look at incentives. There's no incentive to be curious. So we have a very short-termist mindset, trading mindset, across the entire spectrum, from academia to corporate to this. So that is the challenge why we are not able to create disruptive technologies. Coming back to your question, sir, yeah, definitely. I think the ISM or DLI and the PLI put forth by MIT is a good baby step, but it's excessively focused on manufacturing. While manufacturing is extremely strategic in some sense, in some sectors we've got to be reliant. And the supply chain is global, right, in manufacturing as well. It's not one country that dominates it, it's across the globe. Our strength always has been, in design, and the maximum value add and value creation comes in, in the fabless part. All the trillion-dollar companies today are fabless semiconductor companies in some sense, right? And and by the way, that is actually noise, because it's only happened in the last 5 or 6 years. So all these are cyclical. But irrespective, we have a very strong design talent pool that is available. There's no shortage of, and there's no dearth of skills. There's dearth of leadership to be able to think long term and build it. And like I think RK and also Vijay said, RK said that, right, hardware companies have extremely long gestation periods, right? Both hardware and software and chip companies. Unfortunately, investors in India like a Flipkart-like model, where people, they buy revenues. So, they like cash flows. Even if the cash flow is negative, right? So in R&D companies, what happens is that you don't get any cash flow, or you don't get any revenues for probably 5 or 6 years. That becomes a challenge. And in fact, when initially in Sankhya, when we first taped out our chip in 2011, we couldn't get clearance from RBI to tape out a chip to go to TSMC, because they were thinking that we were round-tripping money. We were sending something out, nothing was coming back. So, and then the income tax also thinks we run a Ponzi scheme. Every year they would send a letter to us. Your costs are increasing, you're not making any money. So they thought we were round-tripping money. So that's the challenge that we need to get over, in some of this. But having said that, since then to now, the macro environment is very different. I think policymakers and regulators are also well aware of how critical semiconductors are. And in the next 5-6 years, I think I would see that at least one company from India by 2030 has a modest, semiconductor company of at least 200 million revenues. So that's a modest target. We can never be completely self-reliant, because this is a global supply chain. So even if we aim to be, say, 10% or 15% of the entire global supply chain by 2032 or 33, that I think is a very big achievement.
Yeah, thank you, Parag. Finally, I turn to Robert. You know that we all here are looking at indigenous products, and operator is the key requirement. In fact, our 4G, 5G would have never come had we not got the support of BSNL, because BSNL allowed us to test these technologies in the. I know there are, there are hesitation from the operators to try out indigenous technologies. BSNL is an exception. So my question is that what are the biggest bottleneck? First of all, what are the challenges you think that the indigenous products are posing to you as an operator, and how we can take it forward? Like how you can be an enabling test bed for all the indigenous technology in the world, because if you have to move, we need help like operators like BSNL.
Thank you, RK. You're proving the wrong way. Anyway, that's a good thing. Yeah. From the operator's side, let me first talk about the private and then come to me on my side. None of the operators, including the private sector, is not averse for any indigenous technology, not at all. The problem comes where is all the quality and the whatever the performance of these products are in line with whatever they have the foreign vendors. If we are able to meet or catch up that gap, I have no reason why private vendors should not take it, because this we discussed also internally in a number of forums on places of why we should not take it forward. So the first and a very important step is we should, I know we have challenges, small players. You may not have the testing environment. Testing costs are more. Certification costs are more. Unless we tide all over these problems, it's going to be a challenge. Let me share some examples of real problems. So in our own platform, say in BSNL, we are open to indigenous technology, as RK has told. We are also having a separate policy for it. I don't know, many of you are also aware, or please be aware that we have policy on a POC policy. Anything you have new, you can come to us. We'll give you an environment. You can test. If it is okay, we can see how we adopt it. But what is happening is, even some basic router, for example, we had a vendor with a router on indigenous thing, which is very common thing. We thought, okay, let us go ahead and push it. But the time taken for matching up to the expectations of even BSNLs, is because we are not a large market player, you know that. We are a relatively lower market player when compared to the giants. But we also have this challenge. It took 18 months on a live system of an indigenous technology or a simple router level to make it. This really requires to be thought about. How can we reduce the time? So going back, definitely the government, the policy makers should come forward and come up. We should create more and more enablers, test beds. Now I was talking about certification. I was talking about how do we get. Thanks, DOT, we brought out a policy. Now we have slashed our security certifications, testing facilities, etc. Now I'm very sure, because I can speak on both sides, as BSNL as an operator, as even as a DOT. From the government, we are open. You want what you want, you come to us. Because I was also in the other side of pushing the SRI, which Ashok is now doing, the standardization, research, innovation. We want innovation to come in, but we will bring up enablers. Can you come us and tell what you need? Now let me go back. In BSNL itself, now we are opening up. We are coming out maybe in a month's time, coming up with BSNL startup policy. We open up our places because there is nothing, no substitute for incubation and innovation. Small startups, small firms, we need to encourage them. For that, we are opening up. We have identified some 10 centers. We will open up. Anybody wants, plug and play, start working. Once the product is ready, we'll give a controlled environment where you can test this. Good. But my request is we need to really scale up testing process, etc. So that we don't fall, we should not be inferior to any technology. We should be, in fact, one step delta X higher than, because we have the opportunities. In this process, I even recommend and even nudge some of these people, don't worry about standards to start with. It's my environment. It's a captive environment. My customers. Can I make this work? Let me give an example. We have an FTTH, we are rolling out FTTH through, we have some partners. We call them as tips vendors. They're very, very small vendors. Their average is 50, 60,000. But they do a very important role in enabling my FTTH into the network. Now, it is really surprising if few of the tips vendors join together and they say, can I develop something like a femto cell which will work on an FTTH? It's nothing to do with wireless. On a simple plain FTTH, can I put something like similar to Wi-Fi but call a femto cell? They don't know about any spectrum or etc. So we are open and we have tested this. Where is the advantage? I have a multi-complex which is having 2-3 down, basement down, where there is no coverage of any signal available today because of the structure down. You just take down a FTTH connections in this area, you create a femto cells. So these are opportunities which people can come up, which is more specific to an Indian environment, Indian customers. We are open to do that. So this should be the way forward.
Thank you. I think there is a lot to discuss in indigenization. I think given the time is now quite, I think we are already short over our time. So I'll ask only a last concluding question, but the answer should be 1 line, 2 line, not more than that. So I start from here to Mr. Parag. The question will be, if you could suggest one concrete step to strengthen India's technological indigenization, what it would be and why? So your answer should be in 2 sentences. What concrete step and why?
This is a very tough question, two sentences. See, I think our time is limited. So the timelines are set 2028, 2030. I think we should be now focused. We should identify what technologies we should want to put our efforts in, identify who are the players in that, fund them and ensure that they have enough market access so that they can grow.
So funding. Professor Vijay, one concrete step government need to take.
I think that what I've observed is that the government, when you fund university, the overseeing of that funding is important in the sense that before you start the funding, the government and the university, if they sit together and discuss and say what are the expected outcomes, what is the way you judge the project, and then what are the metrics, and make all of that a little bit more clearer. Some steps have been taken. That would help because it will bring realistic expectations.
So clear-cut metrics and oversight in the funding. I'll go to Parag before I come to Ravi.
Yeah, a couple of them, sir. One is, I think Kumar mentioned the right ecosystem. One missing point of the ecosystem is a good customer like BSNL. Silicon Valley was built by the customer who sees a 70% ready product and pulls it out of the customer. That is missing in India. That is very important aspect of the technology ecosystem that's missing. And the second one is, I don't think it's about money. There's enough money in the market. And these e-commerce companies raise billions of dollars to buy revenues. I think there is guarantee of business. What most investors, private investors think is we are all hobbyists. We can't build businesses. That's the challenge. And the last one, sir, is a good write-off process. Most most corporates in India, public corporates in India, will not invest in R&D because they have to write off that R&D. And the day you write off your R&D, your stock price falls off because 8 out of 10 R&D projects fail.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think we had a wonderful session discussing indigenization. Oh, sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Ravi. I think we forget the operator. That's the mistake we commit always. And I was summarizing something and then asking question to him. But anyway, I move on to Ravi. Your last take on what should we do?
I think I already told this in my talk. It's you have to incubate, innovate, and then give market access. As he rightly told, funding is not a problem. We have enough funding. But you need to really encourage, incubate, and innovate and ensure mandatory market access has been given.
I think thank you so much for that. I think BSNL is committing in front of everyone that they will provide the market access. Wonderful, Ravi, from your side. I think we had wonderful discussions. I think the state of indigenization, the note was that we have done some good progress based on the government policies, various policies government has done, but there is still a lot to go. I think 2-3 things I will summarize what Parag said. Let us be disruptive. And I like the idea from Ravi that let's not worry about a standard, create your own standards. Go beyond, extend the footprint, have designs inside. We all know that we have 1 lakh IP creators in India. Maybe they are sitting in Gurgaon, Noida, Pune, Bangalore, doing works for likes of multinationals. And how do we channelize all of them to create fabulous designs in India so that we can create the value of preparation? There was a talk of industry academic collaboration, the relevant problems. I think the government also should, now whatever we do in TTDF, I think Ashok is here, should be based on what problems industry is facing, and that problem need to be solved rather than creating an open proposals. Semiconductor push, definitely India needs semiconductors. We can start with 5G modems, Wi-Fi routers, ONTs, GPONs, so many, at least 6 to 10 chips. India has the capability to roll out in next 6 to 8 months if the enough support is given. And hands-on, I liked the idea of Professor Ganti that our curriculum should start with hands-on. I see the Singapore kind of model. My daughter studied there, and the way India's education and their education is very different. They are totally oriented on the application side rather than academics. So that should come. Testing, test beds, to create enough test beds and create enough test beds, testing instruments, standards. I think all these puzzles government will solve. I think based on your inputs, we will prepare a note for the Department of Telecom that whatever good suggestions have come up in this session, how do we take it forward? If we have time for 5 minutes, we will take 2 questions if you have time. So I think our idea was to give time to audience also, but they were so wonderful, suggestions and the perspective from the panelists. I couldn't resist to stop them beyond when they were taking more time. So over to audience, please. Yeah, please. Mic pass karaiye, please.
Sir, basically in India, the skill gap is a 0.2, whereas the highest best case is the South Korea is a 0.8. How IITs and top institutes, how they want to change this transformation from theoretical studies to the application-oriented studies?
I think I'll take it. Ganti sir, you can take it.
Sir, one clarification. I never said theory is bad. I said we should have theory and practice both together. Okay, I think now that mindset is changing in IITs also, that now a lot more labs are getting open. Students are also doing a lot of startups. Okay, so they are also, there are tinkering labs that are opening. But what I'm trying to say is that the scale should increase by a 10x. That is where we are lacking, and without theory there is no practice. I'm a complete proponent of that. At least communication, Shannon was the guru from which all these things have flowed. So we should keep that in mind before we say anything. Yeah.
Thank you. Any more questions?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Department of Science Technology, how the innovation is required in India. My name is Harish Kumar from CSTV Innovation Center in Solar Energy Promotion. I am also life member of Solar Energy Society. Point is, in sustainable goal is a decent work. Sustainable goal 8 means decent work and economic growth. If there is no decent work, how to make the economic growth? Question is, so many industries are there. So many industries are there. Degraded environment, degraded system, no energy consumption, no environmental consumption. So why not put up a new innovation, conservation and productivity, that is called one startup, one district, one industrial state, one innovation center to make the happiness. Big industrial estate, big innovative industrial estate.
Thank you so much. Good suggestion that we should open up a startup center, innovation center in each district. Any more questions? I think there was a hand from here. First, then I come to you. Can you take the mic, please?
Sir, very simple academic question. You know, one of the major player in the CKG is the IRS, Intelligent Reflecting Surfaces. And we have so far the test beds for the 5G. I want to know from you that while designing the IRS using the metamaterials, does any institute in India has a test bed for the IRS such that the more and more research can be exploited?
I think the IIIT Bangalore had an effort and they had a booth in IMC, IIIT Bangalore, and I think it may be that they are partnering with Tejas. I think Tejas had an RIS and they are partnering with some institution. Is it IIIT Bangalore? That's IIIT.
Comment. Thank you.
One is IIIT Bangalore anyway. The last question.
Thank you.
What was it? Gum. Oh, I see.
Good afternoon. So Professor Ghanti talked about gap in the research and product development. I wanted to ask this question to the previous panel also, but it's an open question. 28 gigahertz frequency and 38 gigahertz frequency are also considered for 5G implementation, but they are not being commercialized. So to give some perspective to the question, in 2013 FCC licensed 28 gigahertz and 38 gigahertz band for 5G implementation. Professor Rappaport did experiments in 2013. 2015 and 16, Samsung brought a transceiver at 28 gigahertz using gallium arsenide process. And even in IIT Delhi, there is a lab on millimeter wave frequency where Shibin Kaul is making this, 5G transceivers for cellular phone. So in spite of all these efforts happening from more than a decade, there is no mention on commercialization of 28 gigahertz and 38 gigahertz bands, for 5G or 6G implementation. So any perspective, any economic barriers or any commercial, from the commercial standpoint, so anybody can answer this question from either this panel or the previous panel, because we didn't get a chance to ask question to the previous panel.
So
Thank you.
I can answer a little bit and maybe Parag can add to this. So 28 gigahertz, the problem was propagation. So this is, again, to put it more bluntly, this was an academic, overreach. Okay, so 28 gigahertz, when this whole thing started, we were not ready. The devices were not ready. Even now, T-Mobile put an entire 28 gigahertz network. Things did not work as they want. They ripped off the whole network and moved back to 6 gigahertz. But saying that, India seems to be the torchbearer for 28 gigahertz in terms of using FWA. There seems to be certain operators who want to use 28 gigahertz for deploying FWA. Parag, you want to add something?
Actually, it was mostly a marketing hype. In fact, both Apple and Samsung had modems in their phones, which was gigahertz. In 2018-19, Verizon was touting that, you get 1 gigabit into the phone. It's economically not feasible. So if you see the later versions of Apple and Samsung modems, they quietly removed it. It was a $50 bill of material that was lying there, vacant. And I think hopefully the FWA thing does take off. I think that's the only application that I see. Because at that thing, you can't get through a wet plastic bag. So that's the problem with the propagation characteristics.
So thank you for the nice questions. Thank you, panelists. I think with this, we end this session. And I thank panelists as well as the audience for deeply engaging with and asking questions. Your suggestions and the recommendation from the panelists will go a long way in deciding policies, removing the regulatory and the bureaucratic hurdles if at all they are there. So thank you so much. Over to you.
So thank you so much, sir, for excellent summary of key takeaways. Now we will move to the felicitation ceremony. May I request Professor Kiran Kuchi, Chairman, Thematic Committee, to kindly felicitate our distinguished panelist. Sir, please. Yes, please. You can start with. Upadhyay, sir. Yes, please. Ghanti sir. So thank you so much, sir. Thank you everyone for being part of this discussion. So you want group photograph? Okay, please. For a group photograph, please.